Now, something's psychically saying something. I don't know if it's just a spirit or it may be some spies that are causing these attacks on the LDS. Don't know what the origin is, but it says the LDS are sick and they will learn not to be sick. Right. Well, I'm a disabled person. They're part of the thing that tried to sexualize me for decades. Right. 100%. While denying me woman. It is good for man to be alone. That's what they're part of. See the scam? Right. It's good for their men to be with women. So then they can look at the statistics and say, look at the statistics of our people. Right. So it's the beast dressing them up. No, it's the reality of it. They're supremacists. That's the major thing that's used to move the deep state is supremacy, because nothing else would validate what they're doing. Right? Law says no. Psychology says no. Medical wellness says no. Psychological wellness says no. Thank you, Larry. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's earthly or what. Right. Could be Russians for all I know. Could be Chinese for all I know. Right. Thank you, Larry. But they are sick. Being a victim of a crime doesn't make you not sick, all of you. Right. Walking into church and they're touching me sexually. After all those years, I explained that's what was going on. Right. And how it works. They had enough LDS officers and agents and CIA to explain it to them to stay away from me. Right. I guess they only believe their own bullshit because it's convenient. Hate to sound like them. But usually what they say is true about them. Right. Whoever they are in any instance. When speaking about the deep state. Okay. Now they're deep state. Again, I don't play Republican, Democrat, deep state. Like I said, Trump himself could be deep state for all I know. Right. Well, I'm a Republican. I'm not necessarily ultra right-wing conservative. I'm intelligent. Right. You can't see. It takes time for it to unfold, but you can't have ultra right-wing conservatives running your social programs. It just doesn't work, and it doesn't. Ultra left-wing doesn't work either. Cue clue. That's where we're stuck. Right. Well, because I believe in free enterprise. Now, ultra right-wing people don't believe in free enterprise. That's a difference. They're capitalists, but they believe in the lockout system. And where that cue came in, there's those guys, I think it's in Tennessee. I don't remember where they are for sure, but I think it's Tennessee or somewhere like that. They sell supplements and they're lockout supplements. Right. So I saw the word lockout, went lockout, 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 lockout. Like, we're in a lockout capitalist system. Right. Thank you, Larry. Now they're like, I think they're cops or some sheriff's deputies or something. Or fire people. I can't, it's one or the other. Yeah, or both, I think, maybe. Right. So again, I believe in free enterprise. Ultra right wingers, they don't believe in free enterprise. Right. So that's the only thing that actually works. That's why we see consolidation of wealth. It's a lockout system. Right. But people that weren't locked out before are now locked out. It's like government employees that weren't locked out are now locked out. So they voted for Trump and they got locked out. So it'll just continue to grow until there's only like 3 rich people on earth, but it's not going to happen. I mean, obviously what happened is the Republicans made, or at least the MAGA people, the genius, the billionaires and all that of Trump's thing, right, made people believe that the Republican Party was changing. But it was a scam, right? And that's where the problem is now. It's in for a season, right? I don't think you're going to convince them that the Republican Party's going to do anything well for them anymore. Now, he is coming along with the Gaza thing, but you have to understand the whole thing with Loomer ruins the whole Gaza thing. Oh, these Palestinian kids, they're dangerous and their families. And Right. I would have simply said we were doing our checks and we're going to increase our checks. The public has shown that they're concerned. We're going to be responsive and we're going to do what we were doing and maybe increase it a little bit just to make everybody happy. We believe the right people were getting in. That's what you say as a Secretary of State, right? 100%. Like you can't fall on your sword unless it's Loomer. I mean, what the hell is that, right? Because people get fired for falling on their sword, right? Right. 100%. You went from one extreme to the other, right? Fall on your sword for Loomer, but nobody else. when Loomer really can't help us, right? The judges are the ones that want to fall on the sword for. Oh yes, Your Honor. We'll take care of it, Your Honor. And don't completely buy into what's his name? What's his name? He screwed up, right? Oh wait, I'm trying to clean the screen here. Clarence Thomas screwed up. He used the word gospel. I mean, there's not much that can be done about it, but not for now, at least. Well, come the next administration or even midterms, there might be something they can do about it. Agreed. You might be impeached. You can't come out like that. It's worse than being political, almost. Right? Well, it's not gospel, like hinting to the Catholic Church that we're going to rule by the Bible. That's the Constitution supersedes the Bible as far, and the Bible actually tells you the Constitution supersedes the Bible when it comes to government, right? Because that's not God's. Government is not God's. No matter how many times you all try to play that game, right? That's Caesar's. So you can't render unto God that which is Caesar's, and that's another mistake you're all making. Again, rendering unto God the things that are Caesar's, and rendering unto Caesar the things that are God's. But what you try to pretend that you're the government of God. I was all prepared before this all happened. If they'd have just let me go, I could have explained it to everyone and did to some people, right? Well, the government of God is inside, just like the kingdom of God. It's not a physical government. Because the Bible doesn't allow the physical government to exist. Right? The Vatican is something different. It's not really a government. Right? It's a government of a church city, but it's something completely. It's like there's historical relevance to the Vatican in ancient Judaism. We had the refuge city run by the priests. So again, it's a little something different, right? Thank you, Lord. Or as far as a secular nation, well, you're to govern yourselves by the Bible. Right? There's always the freedom for people to make their choices. Right? And I'm not pro-abortion, but the only way to fix abortion is through spiritual means. Well, you have no faith, all of you. You're fake Christians and fake Jews and other things. Right? Of course, you're all deep state. You're installed as the premier of whatever your location is. Right? Oh, they're talentless in reality. They're just like mafia bosses, and they claim their fame. Right? Trying to fear me, I'm gonna take them down further. It's like some steep hill over here. You couldn't even. I don't know. I guess I could climb it if I tried, but hate to roll back down it. It's a Widowmaker Hill or something. But like when I come home last night, you could like smell the earthiness, the wood, the woodland and all that. I mean, it was years nothing. It's just like barren out there. Mm. I got to get over soon and get my finish up the storage stuff. I worked the first half of the day today. I should be able to fit it all into one thingy. Then in place my water catcher. There's no way I want to pull everything out of there and take it over to the other bin. Just so you know, I don't even care if I live here 6 months. I mean, I'm not. If it doesn't work out to move in there, then that's that. But I think it should. Right. Only because so far the people here are very respectful. Right. I mean, they're all paranoid around me, I'm sure. I mean, they're sitting there, you know, average Joe kind of thing. And thinking I'm there to bust them all, but it doesn't make sense actually. It's just something Satan puts in their head, right? Or the deep state. Deep state will actually tell people I'm there to bust them all, while they bust people. So, oh, he's the snitch. They've used that against me. That's how sick they are, right? That's a psyop, right? Thank you, Larry. God bless you, sir. Actually, the Bible is rocket science. There's some precise mechanisms in the Bible, right? If you screw those up, then all bets are off, kind of deal. Thanks, Larry. Yeah, the problem with living in what's that place, Squirrel Hill, is there's no parking, right? Unless you got money, right? Right. That's the biggest problem. There's some nice apartments over there, right? I see the course I'm supposed to take. I don't know. This already got messed up once. And there's no way for me to get a loan right away. It's going to take like a month. I have to get my address first. I was figuring I'd get a loan like in a few days, but I couldn't do that. So what it is, the end of statement, end of cycle statement date, I thought I had already moved it and I didn't. Right. And it flipped and blindsided me. Dropped my credit score down 50 points. But that's them. Again, if it wasn't for them, it would have got through. So again, that was their biggest push. So they're doing all this other stuff to blank my mind, right? So I can't see it. So I have to fight their stuff of trying to will me to be that criminal. Now, I don't know if it was the LDS. I can't tell you whether it was the LDS up in Cranberry, but somebody's running a psyop up there, right? Thanks, Larry. Or maybe they just paid. I don't know. Thank you, Larry. But I touched it. What is they'll run the psyop, and then somebody will find a way to drug the victim in the middle of the psyop. So that may have happened to Crooks, may have happened to the guy up in Grand Blanc. Because they need a reaction to feel like they're vindicated. Oh, you reacted to it. We're just investigating. It's all bullshit, man. Right. Well, if you go to clinical psychology, you can see what they're doing. It's that simple. It's not difficult. That's why once upon a time they used to condemn that type of psychological investigation because they said it was bullshit. Right. Because if you go to clinical psychology, you can see the damage that they're doing. There is going to be over time. There's going to be a certain reaction, right? And of course, they're also operating specifically looking for a specific reaction based upon you do this to somebody long enough, this is going to happen, right? But they'll say, "Oh, look, there it is, the reaction we were looking for." Imagine that, right? I'm going to try to get Extended Stay America to give me the Kansas extended stay receipt somehow, or send it to these people. They didn't ask for it, but I want to send it to them just so hopefully I can. Right, I don't know. It might be too long ago. It's a couple of years ago, but they might be able to pull it up. Right. I stayed there they ended up getting me stuck there for like 7 months, 8 months, 7, 8 months, 8 months, I guess it was. We're supposed to move out like in March or April to a $900 studio at Falcon Ridge. Made a deal with those people. And I don't even know what the average person is actually saying because they can hack my internet. That's what they do. Sometimes they put them. That's why you can't find some of them. I believe they're hacking the internet so you can't see them until it's too late. Well, the LDS Church is actually at odds with what I would say is the end times temple. Right, the end times temple is the body. Right? Kingdom of God is within you. It's not within a temple. But again, if you don't move in that direction, then God might have to regroup and acknowledge the temples exist and then create, like I do, a little temple home environment. And then that empowers some of what we do. Right? So the progression never took. Thank you, Larry. Paul started moving it. Right? But as far as defiling the temple, so the LDS, just to let you know where your operators are. So the LDS operators would say that you're defiling the temple of God if you're a sinner. But again, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We get back to that. Who's responsible? Right? The thing we wrestle against. So again, they condemn themselves. They're so ignorant they don't realize they condemn themselves. Right. Thanks, Larry. So that's the big thing, you're supposed to cut your hand off. You're supposed to do this. And there's somebody that cut their hand off and stuck in a microwave. Somebody operated that person into that. I'll tell you that right now. Right. And that was like 2008 or something. Yeah, it could be direct energy, ultrasonic voices. I can't be sure. I know I hear from God. There's no doubt, but right, they could be. And like I told you, if they're playing around with ultrasonic voices, God could still manipulate them to say and do it. Right. There is parts of, again, based upon this being a physical existence, we don't see everything. So what you see out there in space, there's a spiritual existence where heat doesn't harm you. And it may not actually be hot, just a light show kind of deal. And you could be in the light, bathed in the light. So some of it is Space Odyssey. What is it called? 2001 Space Odyssey, something like that. Right. Some of it's kind of that weirdness. They've been here. It's weird when they're around. the obelisk people, or obelisk, or bleak, whatever they call it thing, obelisk. Well, but it actually, we are those apes. I've already told you evolution took place. It's just if you don't read the scriptures right. And part of my awakening, like before I even thought any of that, I had this vision of how I ended up here. And it's similar to Adam and Eve, but and it's not. No, it is. See, they're trying to block me. Adam and Eve are not evil. They're victims of Satan. Right? They're non-sophisticated spiritual beings. They got sucked into this planet. Right. And fell out of the garden. If you look, God didn't understand it. Like, what? You're naked. Who told you you're naked? Right. So the time frame on this planet exists that the scientists kind of see. I don't believe, I think some of it's bullshit, but a little piece of bone, they know everything, right? But they can't tell you where that $5 went from your checking account that you swore was there. Right. Right. Thanks, Larry. So we are those people beating on the obelisk trying to get in, right? But you won't get in until they say you get in. What you're doing here is mimicking an honest system, but it's an evil, dishonest system, right? You're trying to be God. There's a reality of getting in and all of that. Like I said, when I woke up, it could have been in this existence. It could have been neurological disturbances in my forehead. I don't know, but it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Do you understand that? Metaphysically, they wrote on my forehead. Satan spends a lot of time discrediting the reality, the spiritual reality, right? And so does the deep state. But they said these are the keys. This is before I knew anything about LDS keys or anything like that. Right? These are the keys for you to get places that other people can't. Like people, like, how do you get there? Right? Because I don't follow their conventions of how their thing works. Right? Great. Thank you, Larry. So there's that 2001 Space Odyssey is part of it. Right? There is this thing. Now, a lot of people go, see abortion, fetus. Well, it's just to let you know, again, I felt bad because I didn't quite explain it to this Jewish lady. She said, this is just like, a stepping stone. And I said, yeah, but I said, no, but it's more like an accidental place that exists. Now, yeah, it eventually became that, but, right. Well, if you study religions, you realize God created a place where we can ascend back to God. So he created a gateway, right? Based on, it was, God didn't create the place. You specified it with your wills outside of the will of God, but God, was able to do God's thing. It's bizarre. It's hard to see. God works in between everything but God doesn't manipulate. It's God. So well, God's not pushing you in any direction. God's just presenting, and every so often somebody takes the right course, right? And then these beings from outer space come to Earth. Go, ooh, his name's Larry. It sure looks like Raziel to me. You can't fool us. It's Raziel. Satan tried to kill me here. That's why the whole thing, like Satan didn't win the battle because eventually I get out. And, Satan's a funny word because Satan has changed through the years who Satan is. Satan already repented a few times, but it's not. Okay, the best way to explain Satan is this, and this is probably the easiest way for me to explain it to all of you. Satan is a collective of all the evil that has ever existed, but has life because you give it life. You see? Thank you, Larry. And evil's evil. We're not here to play a game that something you evilly manipulate somebody to. That's why, like, murderers are forgiven, right? Oh, thank you, Larry. Because somebody manipulated them to it. Now, when I woke up, there were, again, what they called themselves a space psychologist, or we came up with the best way to do it. But again, you would call them an angel or a demigod or something like that, right? And they were explaining all that stuff to me on how the mind actually works. And again, God tried. The progression of psychology was moving to Kabbalah, and then they killed it. Right. Well, because once you get there, then you can't psychologically operate people because you're a devil at that point. Right? Like God allows the level of psychological manipulation to be. I mean, he wish it wouldn't be, but marketing. Let's say use marketing because it uses some of the psychological operation, so that's okay. But when you go over a certain point, then it's not okay. Again, the idea you can make money, but don't hurt people. Right? You can make corrupt money. God don't care. You'll hash that out in the end. Right? There's corrupt money everywhere. Right? But again, that's where God draws the line. Just like you all point to the people that are kind of personally sinning mostly, right? When you all are group sinning as the thing we wrestle against. I mean, it's like, and you claim to be the church. And again, some Jews are lost on it because they don't know the New Testament. Right? Well, Yeshua ben David brought the idea that, hey, we're not fighting the earthly, the physical. Like two people can be fighting, but neither one of them are fighting. Again, Star Trek had it in there. Roddenberry, I don't know what he knew, Roddenberry, whatever his name is. But remember when some aliens were willing Kirk and Uhura and Spock, and I guess Scotty was there, and they were like willing them. And that little midget with the dwarf was in it, and he had the knife, and he had to attack like Spock or something. And Uhura and Spock were having this love affair, but it was being willed. Right. This is what's going on the planet. It's actually what's going on. So I believe it may have been happening. No, I do know it was happening in the 60s. Right. Because some of my favorite science fiction authors when I was a kid, and again, I believed it was just bullshit reading, I didn't believe like any of this existed, They had pen names because they were actually putting the truth into the metaphysical truths into their science fiction. It's not physical. A lot of it's not physical. It's actually the spiritual explanations. If you read science fiction from the old days. And again, Pokemon, little did I know, like we're talking about the evils of Pokemon. Jim Spicer and I, like his grandson Dookie was playing Pokemon. He was like, oh my God, he's playing Pokemon. But here it's actually the truth of metaphysics. Right. So like Christians need to understand Pokemon to understand what's happening. But again, obviously some understand it from the evil side and don't want people to understand what's happening because they're evil. They're moving evilly against people so that they would fall in sin. Right. Well, stay peaceful.